Hello and welcome to my video about Trek's 820 entry-level mountain bike. Today, I'll talk about what the bike is and then why I chose to buy it. So let's go over a brief description. This is Trek's entry-level mountain bike. It's really meant for the beginner rider or casual rider. It will compete well with, say, the store-bought stuff that you get from Target or Walmart. It has better gear, it will outlast them, it's actually lighter. It's worth the price gap. This costs $419 where you can get $250 at, say, Walmart and Target. This is worth every penny addition. The frame will be lighter, the Shimano drivetrain is going to be better, and it's going to be far more durable. Now, with any entry-level mountain bike, and this is what you'll get as a real big advantage to this over other products of similar, is they're not meant for like downhill racing. They're not meant to go over giant 8-foot jumps or 6-foot jumps. They're meant for intermediate trails, rails to trails, and road. And Trek, knowing the role of this bike, offered a decent tire. So this is a 2-inch wide mountain bike tire. However, the top is fairly smooth, and the sides have a lot of grip to them. And that gives you a good on-road and off-road capability. This bike, probably a lot like a hybrid, will give you a good on-road ability with smooth ride because the center is decently smooth compared to a mountain bike where you have a lot of knobs and you'll get a lot of vibration as you ride. Now, unlike a hybrid where the tires are a little wider and the grip's a little more stiff on the edges, you get a decent off-road capability. This will allow it to go on a little more places than you would with a hybrid, but not as much, say, a big old $1,000 mountain bike would. Now, the next part of this is let's talk about the fork, or standard big old mountain bike with the extra forks and everything else and the extra springs. They're gonna have 100 millimeters of travel here. This bike has 75. Pretty decent. You won't have any complaints doing trails with it. Moving on to the brakes. The brakes are a regular type of rim brake. These brakes are pretty good, and you get decent ones of them. Depending on what you use for materials, the Shimano brakes are pretty good. Now, if you had a rim brake versus a disc brake or a disc hydraulic brake, the disc brakes do work better. The hydraulic brake is probably a third better than up here. However, for beginner riders and normal riding, this is fine. If you're doing, say, performance riding or a lot of wet weather riding, the disc brakes are a little nicer. Next, we're going to go on to, you have a cup holder. You have wires under the frame here. You have a 3x7 Shimano drivetrain. And like most Treks, you get nice mounting points right on the bike if you want to put a bike rack. And you also have a nice decent berth here, so if you're driving a stand, you want to put the bike on a bike rack for the stand, this fits perfect. You have Shimano up here for shifting gears. Forward goes up, backward goes down. Pretty standard affair. The kickstand comes separate, so you always have to buy a Trek. You always have to buy a kickstand. It comes separate. It's right there. I got installed. It's just a $10 kickstand, nothing big. The pedals it comes with are pretty decent. I like plastic and rubber brake pedals. And the reason I like them is because if you ever put this on a bike rack, they don't scratch the other bikes on the rack or your car. I like that a heck of a lot better than the metal ones or the ones that have a lot of tread on top. The plastic ones and rubber ones, you get a decent amount of tread, but because they're plastic and rubber, they don't scratch things. Nice. The color's a matte black with a decent blue. Looks pretty good. The bike itself weighs 34 pounds, rounded up, which for its price point isn't too bad. It is a steel frame. But if you go and buy the store-bought stuff, the stores where they sell toilet paper like Target and Walmart, those bikes are weighing between 35 and 40 pounds, so it's slightly lighter than that. Now, if you go to the Marlin series of Trek, which is the next version up of the mountain bike, those cost about $150 more, and they're weighing about 2 pounds less. Significant, but for $150, the steel frame works just fine. Now, in the next section, why did I choose to buy this bike? Well, this bike, I needed something for my 9-year-old. This is an extra small delts, so it's a hair big from this year, but next year it'll be fine. And I want something that's going to last until it's like 14. Given that, if I'm lucky, I'll get 4.5 years out of this bike. I didn't want to go and buy $1,000 bike for him, knowing he's going to grow out of it. But I also didn't want to buy a store-bought bike, which is going to be heavy, not that great, and wear out pretty fast. This one, after 4 years, I can give it away to somebody, one of my little baby cousins or something, and something they can use for a while. So it's going to be in great shape in 4 years, where some of the store-bought bikes are kind of rough after 4 years. It also could take the punishment of doing off-road. We do tend to ride more on-road and more on rails and trails than anything else. So I want something that can do that function very, very well and can do some light off-roading. Like I said, we're not doing downhill, we're doing cross-country off-roading. So these tires, this bike will handle it just great. And the big thing for my 9-year-old is he wanted a bike with gears, because all of his friends have gears, his brother has gears, I have gears. So he wanted a bike that has gears. And a 3x7 is not one of the most efficient gears ratios around, but for this price point, it's very, very common. And the Shimano type of gears, it's actually a pretty decent gear assembly. Far better than what you would get, at the store. So I'm happy with it. My 9-year-old's going to come home from school today, and him and I are going to take this for a bike ride. He was already planning out there. He's like, hey, we have 30 days before snow comes. We are taking the bike out as soon as I get home, Dad. And then I think we have 4 months of snow, and then we're taking the bike out as soon as it's dry enough to ride bikes again. So I'm going to have a lot of riding on this. Or not me, my 9-year-old's going to have a lot of riding on this, and it's something he's going to use for many years. And if you think about it, a $419 price point for something he's going to use for, say, 4 to 5 years, it's about $100 a year. And for something he's going to use a lot, that's not too bad of a price. Well, thank you for watching the video.